Laurie, I've already decided this is an amazing conversation. So thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much, Wendy.
Of course, it's my great pleasure. And I've loved the now 303 opportunities I've had to meet fabulous women. This is episode 303.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't
Fantastic.
believe it. That's so fun. And I love, we talked a little bit about this before I hit record when you were so graciously encouraging me in the things that I'm doing. And, you just like, I'm definitely led by joy. And
Mm,
I also like have a to-do list because of the antique house and the podcast and the trips and single parenting and all the things. So there's a to-do list as well.
yes.
And just moving through my day and my personality works with that kind of thing. But it is lovely when I do put my head up and look back and see, oh, look, I'm doing a thing. And someone was smart enough to count it. And now we're at 303. So hooray.
I
It's really good.
it's fantastic that you've had that many conversations and I can resonate with what you're saying because with all the fullness of life, it's coming back to that to-do list. I think intention, like the more intentional you are in each part of your life, then you can accomplish all of these things. You're doing so many wonderful things, and I feel like I'm doing that as well in my life. It's not easy always, but that intentional piece really helps.
I love what you just said as well about it not being easy. I
Hmm.
think I think that it could be easier. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Any part of it that is not easy is pretty much an indicator of my inner work that needs to happen. But you also said intention. And
Hmm.
for so much of my life, early on, into just the last 6 years, I would say, I had ideas, I had dreams, but I also felt like my intentions or my creations were by default based
Hmm.
on the desires of the people around me that were important. So,
Yes.
whatever my husband needed, whatever my parents needed, or my brides, or my daughter, or, it was just in a response. And I enjoyed that because that's all I knew. And then when
Right.
I was ready to remember that I get to deliberately create and be intentional about
Mm.
what I want to do in support of who I'm becoming, it changed everything.
Yes.
Like that
Yes.
waiting time collapses. How have you experienced that?
So the inner work that you just talked about of I think it's interesting for me because I started my business 17 and a half years ago, and over that time I've had three children. And so I can resonate with what you're talking about of these different demands, and it's not been easy. I have a partner who's wonderful, but also three children, and these many roles that I play in my life sometimes can feel like they're competing for each other.
Mhm.
And that's something that I've really had to learn and do some inner work around and navigate to be able, it's not perfect. I'm still always doing that. But I'm feeling like I'm getting to a better place of being able to handle those things much better.
Right. And knowing to reminding ourselves, even in conversations like this, that perfection and arrival are both
Yes,
elusive.
that's right.
And that is okay because I want to continue to create. I want to continue to expand. I want to be learning something new as I'm taking my final breath on this earth. Like
Hmm.
I want expansion. I am not looking for a finish line. I know you're not
Right.
either. And but at the same time, I want to be mindful, not in mixing my analogies, but in not looking for a finish line, but also not moving the goalpost. So, in,
Yes.
celebrating those wins as they come, whether they come from my own awareness or a beautiful reminder, like our conversation started, of you appreciating the things that I'm doing. Like, oh,
Yes.
let's just energetically pop a bottle and raise a glass and celebrate that. Yes, that is happening.
And letting that unfold. I love how you said, at your last breath, still expanding and still, developing, still learning and doing things. Like that's how I view my life, that it will never stop. And it's not from a place of having to check boxes or
Right.
achieve in that way. It's more of becoming who I can be and who I'm continuing to become every day.
Yes, yes, it's a permission slip and the wind behind us and something that's calling us toward it as well. It's
Mm-hmm.
so encompassing and delightful. And I think it's really important that you, in the work that you do, are also motivated by curiosity and discovery and growth and
Yes.
expansion.
That's what leadership is all about. And it's absolutely the core of what my work with leaders is, helping them not only to develop their leadership skills and to expand and to have a more of a modern leadership approach, but also this quality of life, that it's bigger than just what they're doing at work. Of course, I'm hopefully helping them increase their impact and influence, but a lot of the core is helping people also create a sustainable life where they can enjoy their life outside and really live into these many roles and not feel like their work role, their leadership role is the center and core of everything at the expense of other parts of their life. I'm very passionate about that because that's how I live my life and my leadership. And it's not easy. There's trade offs, there's sacrifices, but not having one thing be at the expense of another.
Well, the magnetism of that sort of lifestyle makes me want to follow that leader.
Yes, that's right.
It's just someone who's only excelling in their work, in their professional role, but at the detriment of everything else. Like, that's not someone that's calling me towards
That's
my
right.
highest and best either.
Yeah, a lot of us, the values there aren't aligned in that because we want to be able to create and contribute and have this great professional life. And I think this is an interesting time for women in particular of, certainly there have been working women for quite a while. But
Well, we've
right
always been
now,
working, but now,
that's right, right, and you're right. That's a great distinction of now we have this other, going into a professional role or a leadership role and navigating both of those things of, if you have children or you have a family or you have other things that you're doing. I think there's a lot more pressure now because we're in this time of now women, we've made some of these strides and women are in more of those roles, which is wonderful, but we've been socialized in many ways to be the primary caretaker. And I know for me, I found that a lot of this is still my own inner
totally.
work
Yeah,
and something I'm really navigating because it's sometimes it feels like it's against each other. And so I'm really working on trying to allow myself to have both of those things, that I
sure.
can be a great professional and also a great mom. And those aren't at the expense of each other. It's
Right.
possible.
And I think that what's coming up for, and I'm going to ask you the question I ask
Yeah.
everybody, but I'm
Yeah.
just, I'm in it right now. Um, it's so fascinating because I think, as you said, we're talking about the inner work and with I mean, parenting, having your own business, being a human in the world, like it's all a crash course in personal development, right? So
Yes.
we're consistently and constantly coming up against our growth edges. And if we are requiring the circumstances to change before we can thrive, we will be waiting a very, very long time.
That's right.
And that is also exhausting. And so for me, something that's become really important as I've identified it as even being a thing is this unconditional alignment. So I don't need my daughter to behave in a certain way for me to be
Mm-hmm.
connected to myself. I don't need my ex-husband to behave in a certain way for me to
Mm-hmm.
be connected. I don't need my clients. I don't need the weather. I don't need my
Yes.
peonies. I don't need anybody else to feather my nest so that I can live a happy, joyous life. Like I am making that my work. So as you are talking about, women balancing and deciding to be the best in both of these arenas, which we know is actually like 7 or 8 arenas.
Yes.
How, this is such a long lead up to this question. I apologize, but how does that interact with your relationship with support?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think I've really had to shift what that looks like over the years. When I first had children, um, the support felt like just trivial things. And I remember one time, like, this is probably about 10 years ago, maybe my oldest daughter was 5, that I saying to myself, it's okay to ask my husband for help. He would offer help to me.
Mhm.
And I would say, no, it's okay, I got it, or I'll do it. And I had to step into this, starting to see what that really looked like for me in my life and how it supported the life I was creating. And so I remember getting ready one morning and thinking, I can ask him to take this on. Like he's willing. It's not that I have a partner who's not willing. Why am I holding back? And it was this internal narrative for myself of I'm the mom. I'm
Mhm.
the person who should be doing these things. I'm, conditioned to be the core caretaker. So at that point, I started to think of support differently, of
Right.
asking, of even delegating some things. I've gotten better at that. I'm not perfect at it. I'm still doing that work. I'll continue to do that work. Um, but that's been huge for me of being able to lean into the different people or systems or what I have to support me. And like, that's okay. I don't have to stay with what this conditioning is.
Oh, it's more than okay.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like it's healthy. And
Yes.
every step that we take in that direction is a permission slip to the next woman who's watching us.
Yes. And it's a model for our children
Oh my
too to
gosh, yes.
see. Because I grew up in a time where the gender norms were still
Mhm.
very prevalent.
For sure.
My dad went to work at, 5:30 in the morning, came home at
Mhm.
6:30 at night. And my mom
Dinner
was
was
home.
on the table.
That's right. My mom was home most of the time, and I'm the oldest of 5 kids. And there was also a time where I think even the sports culture was different and how parents were involved in their children's lives. It was much more hands off.
Totally.
I think now a lot of us want more involvement with our children, and there's been this, beautiful shift in that. Yet it also feels like pressure at times of, oh, am I fulfilling that role to what my own personal internal expectations that maybe aren't even realistic are?
Right. And how is that taking a toll on my personal care
A
of
hundred percent.
myself, right? So if I'm going to work all day owning my business and I'm going to care for all of my kids and feed all of these people and clean the house and go to all of their sports and performing arts events and plan all their camps and have a mental inventory of how much toilet paper is in the guest
Yes.
bathroom and sleep the amount of time and have a morning practice and work out and eat.
Right.
I mean, when we list the things, it's supposed to be ridiculous because I don't believe it's intended for one
Right.
person.
That's right.
And I think for me, Although, I mean, I say that we always like teach what we need to learn, right? So this is top of mind for me because I had to um, confront a narrative that wasn't in service. It is not resolved, but at least I'm aware of it now,
Yes.
that I believed that I had to do all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who wanted this house, and I'm the one who wanted the divorce, and I'm the one who wants to
Mm-hmm.
follow my bliss, and I'm the one who wants to expand the property by 30 more acres, and I'm the one that also wants to spend more time in France. So if I'm the one that wants all this, I'm the one that has to do all of this.
Yeah.
And obviously, that sentence outside of my body is ridiculous, but in my head, when it is running without any sweet, loving
Yes.
um, support, it makes sense and it is not nice to me. And so I
Yes.
think as we are, of course, reordering our days for me, I have a morning practice that that is a non-negotiable because I can't do all of these things with an empty cup.
That's
So
right.
so I'm filling this first and then I'm doing all these things, but I'm also now opening myself up to what would it feel like to be fully supported and to lean
Mm-hmm.
into those feelings before I actually find the people. But when I
Right.
practice that feeling, and I do have support, and I'm desire more, but when I practice the feeling of that, then when I meet the person and I have the feeling, I know that that is a match. I'm
That's
not
right.
saying, okay, well, you can do this, but it's a lot and you're going to hate it and I'm not going to be able to pay you. And I mean, like that's just
Yes.
dumb.
You're
So,
aligned more when you meet that person. I love how you say that this is a narrative that you're working on, but it's still there because that's exactly my I think this is normal, right? This is normal life, especially I think for us as women. My narrative has been really confronting being an ambitious, driven entrepreneur and business owner and being a great mom.
hey,
And at times, and I'm getting better at this, and I feel
right.
like even the past few months I've been really working on this because sometimes I have these doubts creep up in my mind of, oh, should a great mom travel for work? Should a great mom be away from her kids for a certain time? And when I was writing my book, I would go away. And in fact, when I rewind a little bit, I was struggling to write my book for a few years. I mean, COVID, I had a publisher that went bankrupt. So there were some other things in there, but it was also finding time in my busy life. And I remember saying to my husband, I'm just so frustrated with myself. I feel like I have these ideas and it's just taking so long. And he turned to me and he said, just go away a few days a month. Just 3 nights a month, go away, work on your book for the next year, year and a half, whatever it takes you. And I said, I can't do that. And he said, why? And I was like,
Love him
okay.
for you.
I have the great partner and husband, and yet I still struggle, right, with
Mhm.
that. And so I did it. I finished the book. It was great, but I still confront these doubts in my mind that it's one at the expense of the other.
Right. And I think we all do that. And when you were saying that, I thought of, because of course I have no resistance to your narrative. So
Yeah, of course,
all sorts
right?
of good ideas of how you
Funny
could
how that works.
move this, which is the beauty of community and conversation, right?
Yes,
Because you actually see my nonsense for what it is, even though I have a stake in the ground of why this is actually why it
that's
is.
right.
You see it more clearly. And so when you were saying that, the practice, of course, like it's not a monumental practice. It's this little shift, just like if you are flying an airplane and you are 2 degrees off, you're landing at a completely different airport
Right.
than what you set off for. So if you were able to shift in one of two ways, I am an entrepreneur and I am driven and I am all of these things. Instead of saying, and a great mom, we can shift it to say, who is also a great mom,
Yes, I love that
right? Like it's just
shift.
this
Yes.
gentle tenderness, or you can even change the order. I
That's
am a
right.
great mom who is also driven and passionate and entrepreneurial and a freaking boss. And she's supported and she has a great partner and she models how to take care of herself first for all of these people that are watching her. And they rise up and call her blessed. Like that is like how it's done.
That's what I'm saying yes to, Wendy. I know you were going to ask me the question,
I
but
am.
like that's an even better way to answer that, which is the feeling of what I'm thinking. Just how you beautifully said that. And I think the more we talk about this, we normalize it. That these are normal thoughts. And as you said, when we ask someone else, they can help us to see that, that's not real. The past couple of months I've started to ask myself, is this a fact or a feeling?
Mm,
So the doubt I'm having of like, oh, does a good mom do this? Is that a fact or a feeling, Lori? That's a feeling that's coming up because when I factually look at how present I am for my children and what I'm doing in the relationship we have, even though there are instances sometime, like when you talked about not letting other things dictate what you're feeling. Someone has to be a certain way. My son will sometimes say to me, "You're going away again." And that fuels my inner doubt and this narrative of, oh no, my son feels like I'm going away. But, the reality is he would think that no matter what, if I go away for an hour, and so
right.
I have to bring myself to don't get caught up in this narrative. What are the facts here? You're a very present parent and you're also modeling things for your children and helping them see a full and you're building this great life and this wonderful business that you feel fulfilled by and that also feeds you in your life, your personal life with your children. So that's been helpful for me of that factor feeling of trying to get myself to I know intellectually, but to really practice more of that's okay. I'm not going to let that narrative take over.
Right. And I think to piggyback onto that, and my makeup is a little bit different where feeling is actually where I need to lean in.
Mm,
So for me, like I can tell if this is a quote unquote fact or an opinion based on how I feel. So
yes.
do I feel guilty? Do I, like, do I feel like I'm not being a good mom? Because, Amelia would ask, I don't understand because I did like go to France for a month right after her
Yeah.
dad moved out of the house and she's starting a new grade in school. And she's like, I don't understand why you have to go. And I was like, oh, I don't have to go. I want to go.
Yes. Yes.
And she said, oh, I was like, yeah, and I want to come back. And I want you to come with me, but sometimes you don't want to come with me. So in those instances, I want you to stay. Do you want to come to France with me, or are you
Yes.
interested in third grade with your friends? No, I think I'll stay. I'm like, okay, great. So
I
we can
love that,
also
Wendy.
like close the loop with them. And when your
Yeah.
son says, oh, you're going away again, yes. Oh my gosh, honey, travel is
Yes.
so thrilling to me because I love learning new things, just like you do when you go to school. I love learning new things and meeting new people. And then I love to bring that back to you, just like I love when you tell me about your day and when you're going out.
Yes.
And, like we get to tell the story the way we want it because that's what informs how everyone else's narrative comes out.
I'm learning so much from you, Wendy. This is
Oh,
amazing
I love you,
because
Laurie. Thank
I
you.
love that conversation you had with your daughter and how you had that conversation. And this is something I'm still developing in because I have a tendency to fuel the feeling
Hmm.
of the other person. And so Luca asks me, "Why are you going away?" And I start to, "Oh, I know it's hard when I go away." And that's not helpful. Just like you said, I'm helping to create a narrative or perpetuate a narrative rather than the matter of fact conversation. And I remember my therapist a couple of years ago, my son um, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease about 3.5 years ago. And that's been a really challenging, navigating that for us. And I was talking with her about, once we kind of got through the shock stage
Sure.
and how we were navigating that, I was talking with her about how I communicate with him and medicine changes and so we were kind of role playing it a little bit. And she said, when you go and you say, oh, I know we're going to have to do this new medicine and the doctor wants, she's like, you're kind of setting it up for really what you just said, that narrative of like, it's so hard and it's so,
Right.
not that I'm
Right.
dismissing his
We validate,
feelings.
we're validating it
Right.
and
And then
taking our
I'd be
power
the
back at the
parent.
same time. That's right.
Right. And she said, so how are you, how you're showing up in that situation? You can validate his feelings, but you're the anchor. And she said, just matter of factly, like the doctor is recommending this, and that's what we're going to do. And let's talk about that. And the
Right. And
energy
what
of
do you,
that,
yeah. And asking like, what would be support? How can I support
that's
you
right.
in this? Like, what do you want? And also like for someone that is experiencing the manifestation of Crohn's disease,
Yes.
travel does not sound fun.
Right.
So maybe even that's a little bit about like you're going away, like, and
It
their own
100%.
anxiety about where the facilities are. They don't want you to be uncomfortable.
That's right. There's so many things that go into that, right? And
Hmm.
how I just learned of like, how can I have more of a constructive conversation instead of feeding in and perpetuating these narratives. And I'm still learning this.
Oh,
I
always.
loved how you reframed, even the ambition and, a great mom. But it's not lost on me, Wendy, that I teach these things in a professional environment. And
Right.
it comes so much easier in a professional environment. And then personally, but I think it makes us normal, right? We all have these
Right.
things, and it's just learning and developing and getting better. I developed a mantra during that time with my son called be with what is, which is really a lot of what you were talking about before of like the peonies aren't doing how they're blooming how I want or the weather or whatever. Like be with what is in this moment and
Yes.
approach this moment today, right now, and not
Right.
wish it were different or, the energy and how your life experience. I used to waste a lot of mental energy and now be with what is helping me to stay centered in you can't change those things. All right, what am I choosing? What's my choice?
Yes. Yes. And how would I like the next what is to be different? So I'm going to
Yes.
be where my feet are. That's something that I practice with Amelia because when we do travel, then she wants to be at home. Like, okay. She's like, well, I want to go home. We are going home. On April
Right.
8th, we're going home. Today is March 1st. So we're going
Yes.
to be where our feet are and we're going to, so that is certainly, something that we can do in the present. But if we are looking at what is and softening how that feels for us, but also setting intention of, because I don't want to keep recreating what is and just keep sitting in what is, right?
Right.
So it's like, well, if it could be just a little bit better, what would that even look like?
That's
So like
right.
for me in the field sweating and instead of thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is too I need help. Darn it, I need some help." Instead, reframing, which is what I did and what I mentioned earlier, what would what would it feel like to be fully supported? And
Yeah.
that shifted the pushing against
That's right.
being here by myself to, whew, what would that even look like? And I was floating. I had this list of things that I would do, what it would feel like if I was fully supported and what I would do. It's like, I would go to brunch like a normal person. Would, I would, explore Massachusetts. I've lived here for 13 years, but for 12 of them, I've lived on this property that
Right.
says, I think you should stay here and do some work
That's right.
rather than go somewhere, and it just felt like it was so expansive and nothing actually changed about the patch that I was
That's right.
weeding and the temperature and the humidity level. None of those physical elements changed. And in that moment, everything changed for me because I chose a better feeling thought,
That's right.
which gave me a better feeling emotion, which made for me the facts of what I was experiencing completely irrelevant.
Right. You're creating your future and you're
Yeah,
co-creating that and
yes.
expanding in that. Yes.
And we'd
Yes.
never know more what we want than when we're experiencing what
What
we
we
don't
don't want.
want,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
Using those as a catalyst, like with your son. Wow, I see you in this, I'm with you, man. It
Yep.
sucks. What what could we do differently? Or what would it feel like, depending on what, hit what language resonates with him, that would make next time more enjoyable, more
Yes.
supportive? What do you think you
That's
need?
right.
What do and that changes all the time. My,
Totally.
right? For
But
my
I
daughter,
love
which
that.
needs,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it's a macaron, sometimes it's time with her iPad, sometimes it's time with her sketchbook, sometimes it's going for a walk, sometimes it's, I actually just need you to leave me alone, mom.
Yes.
Okay, okay. I'm so happy that I am raising a daughter who knows what she wants and uses her words. And even when I don't want to hear them, I'm here for it. Yes.
But you're teaching also, Amelia, I'm teaching Luca of just taking agency, right,
Exactly.
in that moment and not staying stuck. Like as you were talking, I was thinking about how that's such a great way, like when we're in this place of something we don't want or experiencing something, that we don't have to stay stuck there, that using that agency choice and shifting, what do I want, what would it look like differently, but also modeling that for our children, that we're not stuck in our circumstances, that we can
Yes.
have some choice in how we navigate that. You're also making me think of that as women, as business owners and leaders and professionals and career people, that we are human beings.
For sure.
And I think it really took for me having children to realize that every single human, I mean, I know this intellectually, we're flawed human beings, right? But
Mhm.
it's not until you have children or you experience a child and these narratives that you're like, wow, I think of my parents, even of the expectations I thought I had. And now the reality of what that is not easy. And so just bringing to light, we're all human beings navigating this life, and it comes with challenges. And, how we do that, though, with what we're talking about, can make a huge difference.
Right. I love that. And sometimes getting out of my own head, well, predominantly getting out of my own head is so helpful for that practice. So whether it's in a conversation that's being recorded for 33 countries to witness, or if it's in my journal,
Mm-hmm.
there's something about, I mean, obviously you figured this out by now. I'm a verbal processor. I don't really know what I think until I start talking about it.
Yes.
And it's the same with writing in my journal. What that does is it slows down the thoughts because I'm writing them out. I
Hmm.
still, they still surprise me how they
Yes.
come out because I'm not trying to edit myself as I just free write in my journal, but they're slower. And I feel like it's weird, but since they're written down, even though I'm the only one reading it, I have a witness.
Yes.
And that is been key for me to stop those narratives that have just been on repeat for years and years
Yes.
and years from getting a hold if it's not in service
Right.
for who I'm becoming.
I love that practice. I journal as well. And another thing I do, I talk to myself a lot.
Mhm.
I hope I'm not the only person, but
Mm.
when that inner critic comes up for me, I try to even use the skills, my own skills as a coach with other people to on myself. And it's not always easy. But I say, what would my inner coach tell me right now? How it, and I'll verbally even walk around the house talking to myself
Mm.
to talk through that, or I'll ask my future self, what would
Yes.
my 80, 85-year-old self tell me right now in this
Mm.
moment, which has been really helpful for me because my 85-year-old self is much wiser and sees the
Oh my
bigger
gosh,
perspective
for
and
sure.
can call out my BS of these little things in this narrative. And so that's been helpful for me as well, of like being able to process that way, just not stuff them down, but coaching myself through that or to
It's,
navigate that.
oh, it's so beautiful. I love it. And I love that you are not keeping all this goodness to yourself. Like you're sharing it with your clients, you're sharing it in the books. Tell me about the book. You've got two titles that you've contributed to. What are those the books that you were working on when you took time away by yourself?
Yeah, so the main book I was working on then was The Elevated Leader, which is the leadership book. I have contributed a couple of stories to a couple of books, which is really more personal about my own personal upbringing and things in my life as a woman. The book The Elevated Leader was the one I've been working on the last couple of years, and yeah, I mean, I think a huge piece of this for me is also helping people to create a joyful life. I mean, yes, it's about leadership, but as I said, it's really about how do I be a great professional and how that be sustainable. When I talk about being an achiever and driven, I'm not talking about being overly driven,
Mhm.
overly achieving where it's at the expense of my life. Something I've done well, I think, in my business is work very sustainable hours while I'm scaling my business. And that's been an intentional choice for me. I know many people who would work 60 hours or would add 10 hours, right? I typically work
Right.
40 or less. And even that, Wendy, has been something I've had to navigate in my own narrative of saying out loud, I work 40 hours or less. For a while, felt like I was admitting I work part time. And it's not, it's absolutely full
Because it's
time.
not like you're going to sleep after that. You're just working that one job 40
Oh my
hours.
goodness. I am so intentional with my time. And I think it's been great for my clients for me to model that.
Yeah.
What I get done in that time, I think, is incredible sometimes in 40 hours. So we sometimes think with the leaders I work with, like if I work at night or I work on the weekend to catch up, and that's not only not sustainable, but it's usually not the reality of what's going to help you. It's really more intention and how are you focusing and your energy, less about time management, but managing your focus and energy. And so, really, that's a huge piece of that book is helping people just as much in their personal life to
Yes.
elevate their personal life as well as their leadership.
And it's hard to believe that's going to work if you've been in the practice of
Yes.
the grind. But to understand, it was the same thing with my morning practice when I started it. I get up at 4:45, and to many people on the planet, that is way too early.
Yes.
to, like, no one's signing up for that. And for me, once I started to see the results of that, I became unavailable to not have
Yes.
that practice. So I fine tuned the other parts of my day to
Right.
support that. And it's hard to believe that getting up early and journaling and meditating and reading and setting intentions is going to catapult my business. I'm not creating content, I'm not interviewing people at that time, but it is that partnership, like you said, the
Yes.
co-creation, inspired action
Right.
really has a result. And we cannot compensate with action what we have not done energetically.
Oh, 100%.
Right. So, what you're doing as the elevated leader is you're living a life that's worth following.
Yes. Thank you for that. That's so right. And that core practice you have is what sets you up for being aligned and be able to get the results that you're getting. And that's what it's not always easy to help leaders see that. I think it's a journey in
You have to
itself.
see it.
But
It's like, I
yes,
don't want to do squats and not eat carbs. So
yes, they want to see
unless
the results.
yeah.
You're right. But as you said, you cannot compensate with action. And I think that's beautifully said because this is what happens in our corporate environments, in our workplaces, as we think this false belief that more action is going to get results when really it's that intentional practice. And as you were talking about your morning practice, I was thinking of in the leadership world, I talk about productivity sprints, which are
Mm.
blocks of time where you're getting rid of all other distractions, maybe even going to a different location to focus on
Mhm.
one thing. And
Right. Like you writing your book.
that's right. That's a perfect example of productivity sprints where you are aligned, you're focused, you're in the zone, in flow, and then your results catapult. And
Mhm.
sometimes I think it's hard for people to see, well, wait a minute, but I have these other 15 things to do. Well, those 15 things are not your core
That's
key
right.
result areas. And so
Yeah.
we're talking about your core key results. And when people do it, it's addicting. You start to see, wow, that aligned intentional action gets me so much better results than the grinding action.
Right. Because we're not pushing against, where, like you said, we're in the flow.
Right.
And like that stream, that's already moving. We're just tapping into it. So it's not,
Yes.
I'm creating this thing that's moving fast. No, I'm just plugging in. Like
That's right.
the building is already wired for Wi-Fi. I am just entering my code so that I can access it. Because if I don't plug into it, it doesn't make it here or not here.
That's
It's
right.
just, I'm just not taking advantage of what's already here.
That's a really great way to phrase that of, plugging into that because I think we work against it so much. And if we can just get into that alignment, not to say that no day is perfect, obviously.
Not
And
the rule.
yeah. And I think this is something that I really try to do with leaders is be very practical about it too, of, you're plugging into your zone of genius where you're going to get the best
Mhm.
results and going against that by dealing with interruptions and distractions and just having your email open all the time is keeping you from that.
Right.
And
And it's
so,
hard to believe because it hasn't been the practice.
right.
And then it sometimes it feels too decadent, too easy. Like you go away to work on your book. You're like, I couldn't possibly because that
Yes.
sounds amazing. So
Right.
you can't like that, the two feel like they can't go together, but it's this pattern interrupt. I experience this with my clients that go on my France trips as well, because it's this space that's been curated and cultivated on their behalf. And
Hmm.
I was a wedding planner for 30 years, so I love all the details. I love
Yeah.
pulling together different vendors and collaborators to create a dreamy experience for my client that they can just float through their best day ever. Now I have for women traveling by themselves that are my quote unquote brides.
Mm,
And I love that I've created this opportunity where they only have to say yes once
yes.
and book their plane ticket. And then everything is taken care of from the moment the plane lands. Someone is greeting them at the door, taking them to their private driver, taking them to the hotel. I've curated everything. I'm there with them. And the mental and energetic space that that opens up with not have they don't have to look at a map on their phone.
Yes.
All they're just following me. And of course, I've had multiple conversations. So they're not just getting my trip, they're getting a trip that is detailed for them. But then when you're there and you're just immersed in beauty and art and fashion and
Mm,
architecture and culinary yummy treats and beauty and it's just that this immersive experience where you're noticing like the detail on the side of the building above this one window and it's only on one corner of one street in this magical place. It reminds me over and over and over that my dreams are not too big and I
mm-hmm.
am more creative. I have more good ideas. And then so do the women that are on the trip because they're experiencing this pattern interrupt at the
Yes.
same time that it's being modeled everywhere they look, that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself.
They're expanding their own thinking and what's possible, and they're allowed to be present in the moment, which is such a gift. I'm sure that is life changing. And sign me up. I told you before our call,
Yes,
like that.
come on.
I'm,
Let's hear
I'm
all
in
of
the next
it.
couple of years. I'm going to be on one of your trips, Wendy, because it sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
What a
they
gift.
are. They are amazing. And I love that even talking about them, like I just did, inside my body, it felt exactly the way it feels when I'm there and
Yes.
ready to greet them on the first day. And that is the beauty of the emotion because
Mm-hmm.
I can access that without my quote unquote facts of where I am physically. I can access the feeling of that place anytime I want. And that energy, that's how I write the product description for
That's
the
right.
website. That's how I think of what are we going to do on the next trips because that is, I can't compensate for action what I haven't done
That's right.
energetically. And everyone just witnessed how I do that energetically. And that was fun. And
you're
that was
you're
easy.
prioritizing that piece, and it's that energy is fueling the other things that maybe you have to get other things done, but you're stepping into that energy which fuels that.
And makes all of those actions more beneficial and
That's
have
right.
her
It's more
further
inspired,
reach.
right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh. It's so good.
Beautiful.
Okay, I could talk to you all day long.
Same
I'm so
here.
excited to be chatting with you in Paris very soon. And would love to have you on a coffee chat and all the good things. But please tell everyone where they can find and follow you, how they can get the books, all the good things.
Yes, they can follow me at lauriemaddalena.com. We have the book on there and, all the services, also LinkedIn, Instagram, anywhere where people are, would love to have them connect there too.
That's fantastic. We will link it all down in the show notes. But thank you so much, Laurie. I loved this conversation.
Me too, Wendy. I'm going to listen back to this conversation just to hear the things you said because I've learned so much from you. So thank you. This was fantastic.
Thank you. I received that.